God's judgment. It's quite interesting how people can perceive God's judgment. And I think the conditioning by the churches of God's judgment was one of wrath and anger and condemnation. And it's very interesting that mindset came throughout the generations. But I think that the Lord has been revealing the true nature of God's judgment, because God's judgment can mean many things. It can also mean forgiveness, healing, reconciliation, discipline, and that collective mindset of God's wrath, just waiting, to condemn you and to destroy you, is one that is slowly evaporating. But there are still some brothers and sisters out there who see God's judgment as one of anger, fire and thunderbolts down, all this kind of thing. And I think this just shows where people are at in relation to how they understand the creator of heaven and earth. But the Lord has been teaching and revealing himself, the true nature of God and his judgment and how he deals with his people. He's been revealing himself to the sons and daughters that God's judgment is not about destroying. God's judgment is about to gather back in, to reconcile, to make complete again. And yes, it may involve a time of heartache and anguish and pain, to discipline and to refocus the mind and the heart back on righteousness. And I think this is very important to understand. But this judgment thing, which many people are still trying to pour out upon each other and upon the world, is very interesting. And I think the psychological mindset that many Christians have about, or indeed many religions have, is about an angry God. An angry God who's just waiting to throw down his anger, to throw down his wrath and judgment, and to destroy people. But it isn't like that whatsoever, because God is love. And we have to understand the way the Lord perceives us and sees us. He loves us. We're his children. You don't want to destroy your children every time they make a mistake or they err, do you? No, you want to discipline, but you want to gather them back in gently and lovingly. And this is the true nature of God's judgment. And I thank the Lord that he's revealed his true nature of himself to the world. And he did that through the Lord Jesus Christ. The manifestation of God's judgment was in Jesus Christ. And this is how we understand how he came to save the world, not to judge the world, not to condemn it, yet to condemn the works of the world, but to reconcile the world back to himself, whether the things of heaven or the things of earth. And glory to God for revealing the true nature of his judgment to us, which sets us free from the condemnation, or from the condemnation of law, or the consequences of the law. And he sets us free from that, knowing his true nature and understanding his love for his creation. So yeah, I would encourage all those who are still seeing God as one, sitting up there just waiting to throw down the thunderbolts and of lightning and fire upon wrongdoing. It's totally false. It's totally misleading, and it keeps people away from having a relationship or wanting to draw closer to the creator of heaven and earth through the Lord Jesus Christ. And this is one message we need to put out strongly, so those who's wondering about God, thinking about God, don't perceive him in that way, but perceive him as someone who is so loving where you can't measure the height, the depth, the width of it. And it's very important that this message comes forward.